What's up folks, CrushSG back with more mod recommendations. Now not all these mods are necessarily new, but as far as my mod list goes, these are new additions to it. Here are 10 more mods to check out to improve your Vanilla Plus experience. As always, I'm going to categorize them a little. We have a couple of bug fixes and quality of life mods, a few visual mods, and some gameplay immersion type mods. And of course, in line with my other mod lists, these mods lean more toward the Vanilla Plus side of things, so don't expect anything too outlandish. Alright, starting with bug fixes, we have the Sonic Shock fix by Sagex, and this one fixes the Sonic Shock bug introduced in 2.1. Sonic Shock is a quick hack that is supposed to be untraceable, but 2.1 basically broke it, making you very much traceable. And I say it kinda fixes it because this is more of a workaround than a direct fix. Instead of making you completely untraceable, the mod just makes it such that all tracing attempts fail shortly after they begin, which effectively achieves the same thing and will have to serve as a placeholder till CDPR patches in an actual fix. This mod requires redscript to function. And next we have the Microblend fix by Baba Booey, aka the author of the Git's lighting mod, and this one doesn't exactly fix a bug, but rather it fixes a flaw that is revealed if you install certain mods on your game. More specifically, if you installed certain upscale mods, the glass capsules with the dancers in the afterlife acquire this weird, swirly, blurry texture to them. As explained in the mod description, the game uses the normals for grass in the glass material, and anything that alters the grass microblend will then cause this glass to look like that. This mod fixes it and restores the glass transparency and has no other mod requirements to run. Moving on, we have a neat quality of life immersion mod for the Metro system. It's called the Metro Pocket Guide by DJ Kovric, and this mod is an absolute must-have if you are remotely interested in using the Metro. Or maybe you're just hopeless like I am at figuring out how to get from point A to point B. This mod is basically like Google Maps. Open the map, click the route button, select your starting point and destination, and it literally maps the shortest Metro route for you. From here, as soon as you interact with the starting point metro station, a nice little widget appears telling you exactly which trains to take and where. All you need to do now is follow the directions and select the indicated trains at each station, and you'll get there eventually. Sure, it's not perfect, you'll still need to manually exit the train, walk over to change trains, and it all feels a little bit Bethesda-esque with all the load screens, but hold on, load screens aside, that's kinda exactly what one does in real-life metros. Change trains, walk to the next platform for the connecting train, and such. Talk about maximum metro immersion, if that's your thing. I probably won't use the metro much either way, but this is a pretty darn cool mod if you ask me. Metro Pocket Guide has quite a few requirements, but all of them are very common mod resources required by other mods. ArchiveXL, Codeware, Input Loader, RID4 extension, and RIDscript, with an optional requirement of mod settings if you want to be able to change the settings in-game. Okay, next we have some visual mods, starting with some that help with draw distances, also commonly referred to as LOD or levels of detail. For those who don't know, here's a quick layman version. Rendering every object in your field of view at full resolution all the time consumes an incredible amount of resources and processing power, so the solution is varying levels of detail, which allows objects to load in and out at varying levels of quality, depending on how far the object is from the camera. The problem here is most games take a very conservative approach to LODs, and Cyberpunk isn't an exception. This gives better general performance, but often also results in objects remaining very low res or even pixelated and only loading into full resolution when they get very close to the player. And this can be quite noticeable and even jarring at times, and is made worse if you use an upscaler like DLSS or FSR. Now, prior to Phantom Liberty, plenty of mods existed to fix this issue at varying degrees. It was basically as simple as increasing a bunch of config values. Unfortunately, at time of posting this video in patch 2.1, a lot of the old settings are now broken, Values that used to work now don't work, certain settings don't even exist anymore, and this basically renders a vast majority of LOD mods at best ineffective, or at worst causing them to break the game in various ways. Fortunately, not all is lost. I have here a trio of mods that have a proven record of actually working in 2.1. Each of them helps with different things, so using them together gives the best result. The mods are NVF LODs, improved vegetation LODs, and increased LOD distances. NVF LODs is by NVIDIA Forever 2, nice name, and this one largely helps specifically with NPC and vehicle LODs, reducing hair pop-in and texture shift as they get closer to the camera. Improved vegetation LODs is by Sosuin, and this does the same thing but with foliage specifically. To be clear, it does not increase the resolution of the vegetation textures themselves, it just makes foliage swap from 2D to 3D textures from further away. And finally, increased LOD distances by DBK01 does the same thing for basically the rest of the 3D environment. Ads, signs, traffic lights, buildings, etc. Now, none of these mods carry any requirements, but it is important to understand that anything that increases LODs will come with some sort of resource cost. My system is decently high-end, so the performance hit is almost negligible with all three mods installed, but it could negatively impact less robust setups. In my experience, NVF LODs cost the most resources, especially in crowded areas, so that would be the one to avoid if you have limited resources, or alternatively you could reduce crowd density in the settings menu to compensate. You know, trading crowd density for higher quality crowds in a way. Anyway, moving on, we have Ultra Fog by Sammy Lucia, and this mod makes volumetric fog softer and more realistic while ray tracing or path tracing are enabled. You can read the mod page description for the long form explanation. Unfortunately, the changes are actually quite subtle and very difficult to show in video, especially after 3 rounds of compression, and believe me, I tried. So I'm just gonna pull a trust me bro for this and just say the differences are noticeable to me in-game, but your mileage may vary. And in standard Ultra Plus fashion, Ultra Fog comes with 4 quality versions ranging from fastest to high, each coming with a slight performance cost for a slight improve in quality. The difference between fastest and high on my system in the foggiest scenarios is only about 1 to 3 FPS, so the performance cost really isn't that high at all. Now, the mod lists Ultra Plus as the only optional requirement if you run into performance issues, but I have run it both with and without Ultra Plus and haven't experienced any problems either way. Okay, up next we have Immersive Media by Baba Booey, and this is a vanilla-centric ad replacer and enhancement mod. And what vanilla-centric basically means is it does not change the content of the vanilla ads, but rather it replaces some of the hand-painted ads with realistic rendered versions. Now, if this sounds familiar, this is basically what CGI ads does if you watched my mod list videos. Except Immersive Media affects almost every ad in the game, as well as also rebuilding vending machine textures to make them significantly sharper and clearer. It also adds 2 new ads referencing the Edge Runners anime, but it does so in a very lore-centric way by posing them as ads for a TV show based on real-life events. That's a really smart way to include the Edge Runners reference into the mix, whilst keeping things vanilla and canon. Immersive Media does not have any requirements, and at time of posting this video, it is unfortunately only available as a standalone archive mod. So those who want to mix and match ads should wait for the separated archive version, which Baba Booey says will come once the mod is completed. Alright, next we have Manually Enhanced Blood Decals by the Manual Enhancer, and this is an older mod that somehow flew under my radar. What this does is it improves the normal maps of blood and blood splatters as well as upscales the textures of blood and blood splatters. In English, it just makes blood look thicker and more chunky where applicable, and thus makes it look way more realistic. It doesn't have any requirements and comes with two versions. One with just the normal maps and one with both the normal maps and the texture upscales. Now also in the Gore category, we have More Frequent Dismemberment, another older mod that somehow escaped my radar. What this does is increases the frequency of dismemberment and all the other gory stuff on enemies. You know, kinda like what you'd expect to happen in real life when high caliber or explosive projectiles rendezvous with the human body. Stuff explodes, falls off, goes missing, you get the idea. The difference is very noticeable, so you should avoid this one if you are gore averse. It requires CyberEngine tweaks to function. Okay, saving the best for last, we have Enemies of Night City, and this one was probably one of my most anticipated mods that got repeatedly broken by CDPR's various patches. What it does is it completely overhauls all the enemies in the game. And I know, an overhaul? So much for Vanilla Plus, right? Hear me out. This mod doesn't actually introduce anything non-vanilla or non-canon. It just drastically improves vanilla enemies and engagements. It changes mini-bosses, gives them better weapons, more skills. The older fight was revamped with new movesets, new combos. The dude is basically a cyber ninja, and the vanilla fight was already pretty decent. Now it's just been turned up to 11, basically. Enemy AI in general has been significantly improved. They are much more tactical now. They use law-accurate weapons and abilities. Melee enemies have new animations and new movesets. Enemies with Sandavistans actually act like they have one. You know what? Just read the description in the pinned post on the mod page. There's just so much more that this mod does, and I wouldn't do it justice trying to summarize it all. Now, all that said, it would be remiss of me to not emphasize that Enemies of Night City is still very much a work in progress, so bugs are to be expected. Though honestly, I've been using it for almost a week now, and I have not encountered anything game-breaking and only a few minor bugs so far, which is impressive considering what this mod does. But nonetheless, do expect bugs with this one. You have been warned. Side note though, as someone who has been a fan of this mod from before Phantom Liberty, I'm grateful to even have a functional version of this in Update 2.1. Kudos to Viper for sticking with it despite it being broken again and again with each patch. I know you were neck deep working on the Atom Smasher fight right when they announced 2.1. It must have been extremely frustrating. But thanks again for sticking with it. I wish I could do more to help, but even the donation button is temporarily disabled on Nexus. So all I can do is share it on my channel and urge you guys to check it out. Alright folks, that's it for today's video. Hope the featured mods are interesting to you. Be sure to endorse the mods if you like them, just like you should drop a like on this video if you found it helpful. Crush that subscribe button, and I'll leave you guys with more gameplay showcasing Enemies of Night City. Take care, folks.
Let's get them!
Make it quick! No mercy!
Come on, Lipstick!
Taking cover!
Control! Last thing!
Just me! Brace yourself!
Come on, Reed!
Screw you!
I'm in.
Coleman, we have to be here.
Don't take this personally.
Seem to recall you were gonna tell Takamura when you got Helmet.
Yeah, just a sec. I'll call him.